This morning when you picked up your phone, maybe just scrolling through the news or checking the weather, you were part of something happening globally, obviously. But what if I told you that a revolution, a truly historic shift in digital power, has been quietly unfolding right under our noses? No loud announcements from Silicon Valley, no flashing lights on the evening news. Yet Africa has just activated its own independent internet system, a move that, well, it fundamentally redraws the digital map for 1.4 billion people. Our deep dive today is all about understanding this monumental shift. What exactly happened? Why does it hold such profound significance? And how it's not just transforming Africa's future, but potentially the entire global digital landscape. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but how does this affect me? But trust me, it does. Because what's transpired in Africa challenges the very notion, of who controls the information you see, read, and share every single day, no matter where you are in the world. For decades, we've been told this beautiful story, right? The internet is free, open, borderless, a neutral space where every voice has a platform. But that narrative has always been more of an illusion than a reflection of reality, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's a nice idea, the neutral space, but the reality was always quite different.
Exactly. The truth is, the internet is far from neutral. Its architecture, it's very flow, it's shaped and controlled by, well, a handful of powerful tech giants, predominantly based in California and Seattle. You know the names Google, Amazon, Microsoft. They don't just offer services, they dictate how information travels. They influence what you see first, the speed of your searches, and indirectly, yeah, how much you pay for access. And for a very long time, Africa had no alternative but to operate within those externally designed parameters.
Yeah, and when you really dig into that old system, what becomes clear is its geographical absurdity, really, for Africa. Just picture someone in Ghana or Kenya wanting to access a local website, or even just send a message to a neighbor down the street. Historically, that data often had to traverse the Atlantic, touch down in Europe or the US, and only then loop back to its local destination.
Wow.
It's like needing to mail a letter to someone next door, but first sending it on an international flight across an ocean. It just makes no sense.
Right. Inefficient doesn't even begin to cover it.
Exactly. And this wasn't merely inefficient. It engineered three significant systemic challenges for the continent. Firstly, there were consistently high costs. Africa ended up shouldering some of the highest internet access prices globally, and a substantial portion of that revenue. It flowed straight out to external providers and infrastructure owners.
Okay, so cost was number one. What else?
Secondly, this routing bottleneck resulted in incredibly slow speeds. Just imagine students trying to download educational materials or participate in online classes. They're constantly battling these frustrating delays because their data was taking this extraordinarily roundabout global journey.
Yeah, I can picture that. Just endless waiting.
Precisely. And perhaps most critically, the third point. There was a profound lack of local control. Every piece of communication, every message, every email, every financial transaction passed through foreign servers. This granted external companies significant power to monitor, filter, and, well, monetize African data, all without any local oversight or accountability.
So essentially, external companies held all the cards.
Pretty much. If a student in Lagos, for example, sought information on the rich history of the great African empires, their search request would often travel thousands of kilometers, maybe to Europe or America. It would be processed by algorithms predominantly developed in Silicon Valley and only then returned with results. And those results, frequently filtered, sometimes biased, and they rarely prioritized African voices or scholarship.
That's a really concrete example of the bias built into the system.
Or take an entrepreneur, say, in Burkina Faso. Even if her entire business catered solely to her immediate community, she would have to pay substantial fees for cloud services hosted thousands of kilometers away. This arrangement disproportionately benefited foreign companies while inherently slowing her own business growth and, her digital independence. It was a system that, by design, centralized power and profit far, far away from the continent it served.
That paints a very clear and frankly quite frustrating picture of the problem. A digital landscape designed for others, with Africa basically as a high-paying customer. So how did Africa actually begin to untangle itself from this decades-long dependence? How did they build something completely new? I mean, this wasn't just a sudden technical flip of a switch, was it? The sheer political will of the collaboration needed across so many nations, that must have been monumental.
Oh, absolutely monumental. You've hit on the core of why this is so revolutionary. It wasn't a sudden event at all. It was really the culmination of, over 2 decades of strategic planning, political negotiation, and substantial investment.
2 decades.
Yes. The African Union, working very closely with regional economic communities like ECOWAS and the EAC, they fostered a unified vision, and that's across what are often very disparate national interests. They understood that individual countries just couldn't tackle this alone.
So unity was key.
Crucial. The initial phase involved securing multilateral funding, think African development banks, plus some strategic partnerships. This was to kickstart the laying of undersea and terrestrial fiber optic cables. And critically, they prioritized Pan-African ownership and governance right from day one. They didn't want to just invite external entities to build it and then lease it back to them.
Avoiding the same trap again.
Exactly. So what they've launched is not just another internet provider, it's a continental internet exchange infrastructure. And to be clear, this is a complete break from the past, a true assertion of digital sovereignty. We're talking about a revolution fought not with weapons, but with immense political courage, strategic investment in cables and servers, and most importantly, a unified vision of self-determination.
So when we call this a digital declaration of independence, what does that actually mean on a practical level, day to day? Are we talking about owning the cables, the servers, the actual rules of engagement, rather than just being a customer on someone else's network?
Precisely that. It means owning the physical infrastructure. That's the more than 100,000 kilometers of new fiber optic cables now crisscrossing the continent, connecting capitals to even remote villages.
100,000 kilometers? That's vast.
It is, and it also means building the processing power of 47 new data centers, ready to host African apps, platforms, content, right there on African soil. Think of it this way. Before, if you were in Lagos and wanted to access a website hosted, say, in Johannesburg, that data often bounced from Lagos to London, maybe Frankfurt, then back down to South Africa.
The scenic route.
Exactly. Now, with these new Internet Exchange Points, or ISPs, across the continent, an African ISP in Lagos can peer directly with an ISP in Johannesburg. This means content, apps, even simple messages travel locally across Africa's own digital backbone. It drastically cuts down latency and cost. It's like having local roads that connect cities directly instead of always having to go via a global superhighway that passes through another continent entirely.
A digital nervous system. That's a powerful analogy.
It really is. Africa is, quite literally, building its own digital nervous system, allowing them to control the flow, the cost, and the content within their own borders.
That sounds like a monumental engineering and political feat. Absolutely. But for the average person on the ground in Africa, what's the tangible day-to-day difference they're feeling right now? Can you give us a really vivid example of this transformation in action?
Oh, the change is already profoundly human and immediate. Let's revisit that young entrepreneur in Burkina Faso, the one creating an app for local farmers. Before, her data had to leave the continent and return. That meant costs, delays, and frankly, struggling for visibility within dominant global platforms.
Right, competing against the global giants.
Exactly. Now her app's data stays within Africa. No more unnecessary transatlantic data tolls, no more filters dictated by external algorithms she can't control, and crucially, a much clearer path for her local users to discover and actually utilize her service. It levels the playing field somewhat.
That makes perfect sense. And culturally?
The cultural impact is equally significant, maybe even more so in the long run. With local search engines now able to prioritize African voices, African languages, African perspectives. Think about that student in Mali, searching about their country's independence. They won't just get a summary maybe written in London or Paris. They'll readily find African archives, research from African universities, stories told by Africans themselves.
History, culture, knowledge. Presented by Africans for Africans.
Precisely. It's about reclaiming the narrative.
That's a profoundly empowering vision, no doubt about it. You mentioned the immediate impact. Were there any early indicators, any astonishing figures that showed just how quickly people embraced this?
Absolutely. The adoption rate was, well, truly astonishing.
Yeah.
In just the first 3 days following the launch, we saw over 200 million people migrate to the new network.
200 million in 3 days.
Yes. That's a speed of adoption that, even the biggest global tech companies can only dream of achieving.
Why so fast? What drove that incredible uptake?
It's simple, really. The system was built for them. It offered faster speeds, fairer access, more affordable rates, and importantly, a culturally relevant digital experience. It was exactly what millions of people needed and wanted, and they recognized it immediately.
That's incredible buy-in. But establishing and maintaining such a massive, independent digital infrastructure, that must come with immense challenges and costs, right? Are there any significant hurdles or potential pitfalls Africa might face in the coming years, beyond just the initial build? Technically, economically.
That's a crucial question, definitely, because while the benefits are immense, so are the responsibilities that come with it. Technically, yes, ongoing maintenance, cybersecurity, which is huge, and continuous upgrades will require sustained investment. And, just as importantly, a growing pool of highly skilled African engineers to manage and evolve the system.
Okay, so the human capital aspect is key.
Absolutely. And economically, Africa must ensure that this newfound independence doesn't inadvertently lead to new forms of digital monopolies within the continent,
Yeah.
preventing smaller local players from thriving. It also needs robust regulatory frameworks, ones that balance innovation with consumer protection and data privacy.
A delicate balancing act.
Very much so.
Yeah.
So, yes, the initial build is monumental, but the ongoing stewardship requires equal foresight and commitment. But, what's at stake here goes beyond just internet speed or even those economic hurdles. It's fundamentally about dignity. It's about sovereignty.
Dignity and sovereignty. Tell me more about that.
Well, think about it. Billions of dollars Africa spent on digital services represented revenue flowing primarily out to external economies. Now, that money recirculates within the continent. It funds local data centers. It employs African engineers. It fuels African startups. Every dollar spent on this infrastructure and its services creates jobs and builds communities right there. The economic multiplier effect is potentially huge.
So the money stays home, essentially.
Right. And politically, this changes everything. Dependence on foreign infrastructure meant that a single policy decision or even a technical switch-off from abroad could significantly slow an economy or even silence a political movement.
A huge vulnerability.
A massive one. Now, Africa controls its own digital destiny. It holds the switch, so to speak. And for Africa's youth, who make up, over 60% of the population, this is more than just technology. It's about identity. For the first time, they're navigating an internet designed for them in their languages, reflecting their cultures. This new digital autonomy, this sense that the system is theirs, that changes their entire relationship with the digital world. It's empowering on a deep level.
This really is not just innovation, then. It's a paradigm shift. It feels like it will undoubtedly have global ramifications. For years, the narrative was that to join the digital world, Africa had to accept outside rules, outside infrastructure. But today, Africa proves it can build and operate its own system. So what does this bold move mean for, say, Washington, for Brussels, for that long-held dream of a truly borderless, universally governed internet?
Well, what's particularly striking here is that while this was a silent revolution in its execution, it certainly wasn't unnoticed on the world stage, not at all. As Africa was meticulously building this infrastructure, alarm bells were indeed ringing. In Washington, in Brussels.
Really? Alarm bells?
Yes. We're talking about genuine geopolitical unease, not just polite inquiries. Emergency meetings are being held. And serious discussions around economic levers, maybe even diplomatic pressures. They're definitely on the table.
What's their main concern?
It seems to be threefold. One, the potential for data localization, keeping data within Africa to significantly disrupt existing global business models and the free flow of data as they see it. Two, it's a clear shift in digital power. That could challenge their influence over internet governance and standard setting. And three, perhaps the biggest one, is the powerful precedent this sets.
Ah, the example it sets.
Exactly. Other regions seeking similar digital autonomy. We're seeing Latin America, parts of Asia, even some European nations watching very, very closely. This move signifies that silent digital colonialism, the subtle control exerted through infrastructure ownership, is rapidly fading. Africa has sparked something far bigger than just a new data network. It has initiated a global conversation, a revolution in digital self-determination.
A global conversation starter.
Definitely. From now on, the internet is not solely shaped in Silicon Valley. It is also being built with African cables, African knowledge, and importantly, African dignity. It's a powerful rebalancing act.
Rebalancing, I like that.
But of course, with such profound freedom comes equally profound responsibility. That needs to be stressed. Africa must now protect this independence, not only from potential foreign influence and external pressures, which will likely come, but also from the crucial challenge of potential internal misuse.
Internal misuse, you mean governments within Africa?
Yes. The internet that liberates must not, under any circumstances, become another tool for control within its own borders by governments or powerful internal actors. That delicate balance ensuring openness and freedom internally while maintaining sovereignty externally, that will be the central challenge moving forward. But it's also the unparalleled opportunity, isn't it? to build something truly fair, equitable, and representative for all its people.
So, as we've explored today, Africa's decisive move to build its own internet isn't just, a technical upgrade. Far from it. It's a profound statement of sovereignty and self-determination. It's fundamentally reshaping the digital landscape and setting a powerful example for the world. This deep dive has really illuminated how the internet, this tool we often take for granted, is inherently shaped by those who construct and control its underlying infrastructure. And in Africa, that control has now decisively come home, changing the game for 1.4 billion people. It's quite something. So, the final thought, perhaps, as more nations and continents consider building their own digital nervous systems, asserting this kind of digital independence, what does this ultimately mean for the future of a truly global internet? Will we witness a fragmentation of the digital world, creating walled gardens, or perhaps more optimistically, will these independent networks push for a more equitable, diverse, and genuinely representative internet for everyone, fostering new forms of global digital collaboration? It's a pivotal question, I think. Something worth pondering as the digital map continues to redraw itself right before our eyes.